Cleveland's decision to stick with Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders is being seen less as a coaching call and more as a baffling rejection of talent. Sanders, the college phenom who posted over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, and a 74% completion rate, was expected to be the Browns' next breakout star. Instead, he's riding the bench while the team limps through a conservative, uninspired offensive identity.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Critics are calling it malpractice. And now, with Miami circling like sharks in open water, the Browns may have just lit the fuse on a move that could haunt them for years. What's unfolding isn't just about depth charts or trade rumors. It's about how teams handle generational potential when it doesn't fit their immediate comfort zone. Miami's pursuit of Sanders, despite his lack of NFL snaps, signals a franchise willing to gamble everything on upside and aura, and in a lead built on dramatic arcs and explosive talent. That gamble might be all it takes to shift the NFL spotlight overnight. So the Miami Dolphins just might be about to pull off one of the most desperate, chaotic, and headline-chasing moves in recent NFL memory, snatching up Shedeur Sanders from the Cleveland Browns in a last-minute panic trade. Yes, that's Shedeur, the one who hasn't even played a single NFL snap yet. The one Cleveland benched like he was some random backup with no future. And now, with Miami's season on fire, in the bad way, they're reportedly ready to gamble everything on a quarterback who's more hyped than history. Welcome to the NFL, where chaos is the brand and spectacle is a strategy. Let's start with Cleveland, because somehow they're the quiet villain in this whole mess. The Browns had Shedeur Sanders, a college star with a 74% completion rate, over 4,000 yards and 37 touchdowns. A guy who clearly had the arm, the poise, the swagger. And what did they do? They benched him for Gabriel, a decision that honestly might go down as one of the dumbest quarterback moves since. Well, it's Cleveland, so there's competition. But this isn't just about stats. This is about attitude, presence, brand, the things that move the needle in the NFL now. And Cleveland? They looked at that energy and shrugged. They parked him on the bench like he wasn't a walking headline, a future franchise spark, or, let's be real, exactly what they've needed for the past 2 decades. Meanwhile, over Miami, the Dolphins are flailing. They're sitting at 1-6 with a dumpster fire offense and a quarterback situation that feels like it's seconds from collapsing. Tua Tagovailoa, he's struggling. Turnovers, bad decisions, injuries, the whole catalog. The energy's gone. The creativity's dried up. The fans are over it. So what do the Dolphins do when it all starts crumbling? They lean into the only thing they know, the spectacle. Because Miami doesn't rebuild. They headline. They don't develop in silence. They gamble loud. And right now, they're eyeing Shedeur Sanders like he's the missing piece to the hype machine. Never mind that he's never played an NFL snap. Never mind that Cleveland hasn't even figured out what they want from him. Miami wants buzz. Miami wants to be talked about. And Sanders is a ticket. Sources are saying the Dolphins are seriously considering an aggressive, buzzer-beating trade to steal Sanders out from under Cleveland. Which, again, raises one huge question. What is Cleveland doing? Why hold on to a player you clearly don't trust enough to start? Why cling to Gabriel when the future is sitting on your bench? Why let Miami come in and possibly turn him into the face of their franchise? Because let's be honest, if Miami lands Sanders, the whole league is watching. That's not a depth move. That's not a slow development project. That's a full-on cultural reset. You're not trading for Shedeur to hide him behind Tua. You're trading for Shedeur to replace Tua. And the fact that this move is even on the table tells you just how deep the chaos runs right now. Tua's future Miami has never looked shakier. This isn't just about performance. It's about momentum. Miami is reeling. Their offense is flat. The coaching looks lost. The fans are restless. And Sanders represents the kind of flashy, hope-filled distraction that can change a franchise's narrative overnight, even if it's reckless, even if it's a Hail Mary. That's the point. And make no mistake, the NFL loves this. Because what's more on brand for modern league than a last-minute quarterback trade involving a bench rookie who hasn't even thrown a pro pass? This is the league where chaos sells, where drama drives ratings, where every front office secretly wants to be the next headline. And if Miami pulls this off, they're not just getting a player, they're grabbing attention, which, in this league, is its own kind of currency. Cleveland, on the other hand, is doing the opposite. Conservative, slow-moving, maybe even scared. Instead of building around Sanders and tapping into that hype, they've played it safe, and that safety might cost them. Because if Sanders goes to Miami and pops off, even a little, Cleveland becomes a team that fumbled the future. Again, and let's not ignore the bigger picture. Baltimore is also reportedly sniffing around. Yep, the Ravens. If this becomes a 3-team scramble at the deadline with Miami, Cleveland, and Baltimore all circling around the same potential superstar, it turns from a bad decision into a full-blown franchise embarrassment for the Browns. The problem is that Cleveland seems unwilling to commit. They're stuck in this limbo where they don't want to play Sanders, but they also don't want to lose him, which is the worst possible strategy. You either build around your guy, or you move him before someone else does it better. And Miami? They're ready. Desperate? Definitely. Reckless? Absolutely. But at least they're decisive. And that brings us to the culture clash. Cleveland's approach is all about caution. Play it safe. Avoid the headlines. Stick to the system. Miami's is the exact opposite. Big swings, big drama, big stakes. They're not afraid to blow it up with a chance at something flashy. And while that kind of thinking can destroy a franchise, it can also revive it. If Shedeur lands in Miami and even flirts with success, the Dolphins suddenly go from laughingstock to must-watch. They have a young QB with charisma, arm strength, and media power. That's gold. Sponsors love it. Fans eat it up. National attention skyrockets. And just like that, the Dolphins aren't losing 1-6. They're rebuilding around a superstar. Meanwhile, Cleveland is left explaining why they didn't see it. And again, it's worth repeating. Shedeur hasn't played a single NFL down. He could flop. He could struggle. He could prove Cleveland right. But that's not how this league works anymore. This is about potential, about branding, about the story. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is a better story than 90% of the league's quarterbacks. So of course Miami's chasing it. Because whether he succeeds or fails, he brings attention. And in the NFL, attention is everything. This entire situation is just another example of what the league has become. Part sports, part soap opera, part live-action drama. Every week, there's a new arc, a new twist, a new gamble. And the Sanders trade talk? It's the perfect storm. A struggling team, a bench star, a ticking trade deadline, and a league that rewards spectacle. It's not even about logic anymore. It's about the moment. Can you own the conversation? Can you steal a headline? Can you create a narrative powerful enough to distract from your actual record? That's where the league lives now, in the chaos. And Shedeur Sanders is built for that. He's got the stats. He's got the look. He's got the family name. He's got the buzz. That's why Miami's foaming at the mouth. That's why Baltimore's lurking. And that's why Cleveland's hesitation is going to haunt them if they don't make a move, or worse, make the wrong one. Because in the NFL today, the game isn't just on the field. It's in the front office. It's in the media. It's in the narrative. And if Miami ends up pulling this off, they win that narrative in a landslide. Even if the scoreboard doesn't agree for a while. Shedeur represents something bigger than a quarterback switch. He's the embodiment of this new league culture. One where talent meets branding, where personality is half the value, and where a perfectly timed trade can change a franchise's story before the player even takes a snap. So now we wait. Will Cleveland wake up and build around a guy they already have? Or will Miami swoop in, throw the dice, and embrace the chaos like they always do? One thing's for sure, whatever happens next is going to be loud. If you're loving the drama as much as we are, don't forget to like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more NFL chaos, controversy, and spectacle. You know this league never sleeps, and neither do we. Let's dig even deeper into the madness here, because what's unfolding with Shedeur Sanders isn't just one weird quarterback controversy. It's a full-blown identity crisis across two franchises, and honestly, across the league itself. Start with the Dolphins again. Because if you follow Miami football for longer than 5 minutes, you know this isn't their first rodeo with drama. This is a team that thrives on big names and bigger promises. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, even head coach Mike McDaniel. They've all been part of this grand plan to turn the Dolphins into the show, the South Beach spectacle. And for a minute there, it kind of worked. But now, they're 1-6. The offense is sputtering. The excitement's gone. Tua's struggling to command the locker room, let alone the field. And suddenly, the flash is starting to feel like static. Enter Shedeur. He's not just another rookie. He's a symbol, a lightning rod. He's a guy everyone's been watching since college, not just for the stats, but for the swagger. The son of Deion Sanders. Primetime Junior, the prototype for this new wave of athletes who play the game on the field and on the timeline. And that's why Miami wants him. They don't just want to win games. They want to own Sundays. They want to trend. And Shedeur, he trends effortlessly. But here's the kicker. They're ready to risk everything on that potential. Because let's not sugarcoat it. Bringing Shedeur means blowing things up. It means pushing Tua out of the spotlight, possibly out of the team entirely. That's not a soft transition. That's not a let's ease him in situation. That's a statement. And what does it say? It says Miami is done playing it safe. It says they're tired of watching other teams ride viral waves while they're stuck explaining fumbles. It says they'd rather be wrong loudly than right quietly. But let's not let Cleveland off the hook. Because what are they doing? Seriously, you draft this guy. You hype him up. You know what he did in college. And then you sit him? You bench him behind a safer, quieter option? And for what? To protect him? From what success? Because it's not like Gabriel is setting the league on fire. Cleveland's been the same middling team they always are, just with slightly less embarrassment than usual. They're not winning titles. They're not dominating the AFC. So why act like they've got something sacred to protect? This is the problem with teams like Cleveland. They're addicted to stability, even when that stability is mediocrity. They talk about development and patience, but half the time, it just means they're scared to commit, scared to make a bold move, scared to trust their gut. And now, they might lose Shedeur without even giving him a chance. Because Miami isn't scared. Miami wants the chaos. They invite the spotlight. And that's what makes them dangerous right now. They've got nothing to lose. At 1-6, the season's already circling the drain. So if they have to throw a first-round pick, a starter, and their pride into a blender to get Shedeur, so be it. Cleveland, on the other hand, is playing defense. They're trying to hold on to a guy they don't trust enough to play, while simultaneously fending off teams who do want to build around him. That's not strategy. That's insecurity. And now the Ravens are sniffing around too, because of course they are. Baltimore's smart, calculated. They're not going to get into a bidding war unless they think there's real value here. And if they're interested, that should tell Cleveland everything they need to know. This isn't just hype. This isn't just media buzz. There are actual franchises looking at Shedeur and seeing a future leader, a guy you can build around, a guy you don't bench unless you're blind to the bigger picture. Because let's be real, no one's saying Shedeur is the next Mahomes. No one's guaranteeing a Super Bowl. But what they are saying is that he's got the tools, the poise, the energy, the presence. And in today's NFL, that's half the battle. Quarterbacking in this league isn't just about arm strength anymore. It's about command, vibe, the it factor. And Shedeur's got that. He's been raised in it, trained for it, built for it. And if Miami gives him the stage, he's going to run with it. The Dolphins aren't just hoping for a winning season. They're hoping for a moment, a cultural reset, something that makes fans believe again, even if it's irrational. Because that's what the NFL is now. It's not about who's deserved a chance. It's about who can capture one. And that's why this whole situation is so wild. You got a player with massive upside sitting on the bench. A team that doesn't want to let him go, but doesn't want to play him either. Another team that's willing to throw logic out the window just to get him. And a trade deadline clock ticking louder by the hour. It's the perfect storm of ego, desperation, and spectacle. And let's not forget the fans. Miami fans are tired. They've been promised the world over and over, only to end up back in football purgatory. They're ready for a shakeup. And Shedeur would deliver that, even if he's not an immediate savior. Cleveland fans, on the other hand, are confused. They've seen glimpses of potential in Sanders. They've heard the analysts. They know what's sitting on that bench. And yet, the front office is acting like none of it matters. Like this is just another year, another QB rotation, another maybe next season. But this isn't just another season. This is a crossroads. And the fact that it's happening in both franchises simultaneously, that's not a coincidence. That's the NFL in 2025. Because here's the truth. Football isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about stories. And Shedeur Sanders is a story. A big one. He brings eyeballs. He sparks debates. He turns games into events. And if you're a franchise drowning in irrelevance, that kind of story is priceless. So now we're sitting in this weird NFL purgatory, where everything could change with one phone call, one trade, one moment of clarity, or chaos. If Miami pulls the trigger, they don't just get a quarterback. They get a new identity, a new hope, a reason for fans to care again. And honestly, that alone makes the risk worth it. If Cleveland keeps holding on but never commits, they're just setting themselves up for more of the same. Missed opportunities, regret, watching other teams take the leap they were too scared to try. And if Baltimore somehow swoops in, well, that's a whole different mess waiting to explode. The bottom line is this. The NFL thrives on drama. Always has. Always will. And Shedeur Sanders? He's the main character in this week's episode. Whether he ends up in Miami, stays in Cleveland, or ends up somewhere completely different, his story is shaping the conversation and reshaping how we think about quarterback potential in today's league. This isn't about safe bets anymore. It's about headlines. And Sanders is the headline. So what happens next? That's up to the suits in the front office. But for the rest of us, we'll be watching closely. Because no matter how it ends, this saga is already one of the wildest quarterback dramas the NFL has seen in years. No matter where Shedeur Sanders ends up when that trade deadline hits, the fallout is going to be nuclear. Because this isn't just about a player changing teams. This is about a league that's addicted to its own chaos, and a front office culture where logic gets drowned out by urgency, PR, and panic moves disguised as strategic risk. Miami has already thrown subtlety out the window. They're not just leaking interest. They're telegraphing it. Everyone knows they're circling. Everyone knows they're tired of losing. And most importantly, everyone knows their offense has flatlined. It's not just that they're losing games. It's how they're losing, sloppy, uninspired, and deeply avoidable. You've got an injured, turnover-prone Tua trying to hold things together with duct tape and prayer, while the fan base is restless and the locker room is probably one bad drive away from turning on itself. Miami needs a spark, a new direction, and Shedeur represents both. But let's get brutally honest here. If Miami makes this move, they're not getting a guaranteed franchise QB. They're getting a projection. A player built on college dominance, charisma, and momentum. Shedeur hasn't faced NFL pressure. He hasn't taken hits from Micah Parsons or tried to read a disguised blitz from Bill Belichick's defense. He hasn't lived the brutality of a Sunday collapse with 70,000 fans booing. But that's not stopping Miami. Because in 2025, hype beats tape. If you can trend, you can start. Meanwhile, Cleveland is playing this like they've got all the time in the world, as if letting Sanders rot on the bench is just part of a quiet, careful master plan. But the NFL doesn't wait. Development windows are shorter than ever. Patience isn't a virtue, it's a liability. And the Browns? They're about to learn that the hard way. Because if they lose Sanders and he lights it up somewhere else, especially somewhere flashy like Miami, it won't just sting. It'll define the franchise. It'll be the latest chapter in Cleveland's long-running series. Quarterbacks we mishandled. They had the guy, the stats, the hype, the opportunity, and they sat on it. Meanwhile, if the Dolphins manage to pull this off, the shift will be immediate. You'll feel it in the tone of the media, the way national broadcasts talk about the team, the way fans show up to games, not just to see if Miami can win, but to see what Shedeur does next. That's what this league wants. Stories, spectacles, viral moments. And Shedeur, he delivers all of it without trying. Let's not forget, this is a player who dominated the college game in an era when eyeballs matter just as much as efficiency. He threw for over 4,000 yards, completed nearly 3/4 of his passes, and did it all with a camera in his face and expectations through the roof. Pressure isn't new to him. Attention isn't new to him, which is exactly why Miami's thinking, why wait? They've tried patience. They've tried discipline. They've tried letting things play out. It's gotten them to 1-6. What do they really have to lose? Because worst case, he flames out, and they move on. Best case, they just landed the face of their franchise, the energy boost they needed, and a QB who can win games and fill seats. Meanwhile, Cleveland will be left explaining why they bet on safe and ended up with regret. And honestly, that's the heart of it. This isn't just a trade possibility. It's a metaphor for how teams approach the modern NFL. One team clinging to the past, scared to make the wrong move. Another team rushing headfirst into the unknown, betting it all on one big swing. And Shedeur Sanders? He's the storm at the center of it all. Whichever team ends up with him isn't just getting a quarterback. They're getting a brand. They're buying into a culture shift. And they're telling the league, yeah, we're rolling the dice, but at least we're playing the game. Cleveland? They're still holding the dice and trying to read the rule book. So here's your moment. Who's making the right call? Is it better to gamble big and risk it all, or sit tight and hope you don't miss your shot? Because when the dust settles and the trade deadline passes, someone's going to look like a genius, and someone's going to look like they slept through an opportunity they'll never get back. If you've got thoughts, and let's be real, you do, drop them in the comments. Who should make the move? Who's making a mistake? And if Shedeur does get traded, is he the spark or the sizzle? Smash the like button if you're riding the roller coaster with us. Share this with your fellow NFL chaos enthusiasts. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because in this league, the real game is off the field.